Okay, the last topic of this chapter is not really in the textbook, but I think is really something very interesting for us to start thinking about whenever we are having perceptions or probability. It's very easy to have some biases. And so if you have done that survey that I sent out over Slack, you will have seen this Linda problem. Okay, so the problem in that survey goes this way. Linda is 31 years old, single, outspoken, and very bright. She majored in philosophy. As a student, she was deeply concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice, and she also participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Please rank the following statements by their probability, using 1 for the most probable and 8 for the least probable. Okay, so the 8 different choices, I'm listing it over here. Take a moment to read through them if you didn't get the chance to do the survey or Google form. So hidden, let me just say this way, hidden in the 8 choices here is actually 3 of them that now after talking about probability perception and then as well as all of the propositions for probabilities, it's very interesting to take a closer look. Okay, so I want to highlight the 3 here. The first one is number 3, Linda is active in the feminist movement. Okay, the second one is number 6, Linda is a bank teller. And number 8, Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement. Okay, so one thing you might notice, okay, here is that we have the A and, right? So number 8 is in fact in the intersection of number 3 and number 6. Okay, so based on what we have learned so far in this chapter, we know that, well, if I define event A to be Linda is active and in the feminist movement, event B is that Linda is a bank teller, then one of the choices that we showed earlier is that Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement, in fact, is the intersection of A and B. Okay, so because of that, okay, we know that the intersection of 2 events, the probability of that cannot be greater than any of the marginal. Okay, so one thing, for example, if we bring back our favorite Venn diagram, we have S, the sample space. Let's just say here, okay? So let's just say this is A, this is B, okay? So if you look at the intersection of the 2, we know that it's going to be this shaded area, okay? And then if we, like, if everything is equally likely, that outcomes, that kind of concept from chapter 2, we know that, well, the intersection of it cannot be greater than any of the individual A or B, okay? So that's the key here. And if we think in that way, then obviously, people, if we're following this correct conception or perception of probability, then it shouldn't, like a reasonable person should probably not pick, like when we are ranking those 8 choices, we have to make sure that, well, we probably wouldn't rank the joint higher than the marginal themselves. Okay, so one way to look at it, if you remember the ranking that we asked you to do, it's 1 is the most probable and 8 is the least probable. So if I'm looking at the average ranking of those events, so I'm like translating the previous slide into this with this average ranking here. So here, based on the 21 of you who responded to that survey, we have average ranking of event A is 3.4-ish, okay? The average ranking of event B is 4.78-ish. And then the average ranking of the intersection of intersection of A and B is 4.62, okay? So apparently, like I said, because ranking 1 is the most probable, 8 is the least probable. So a reasonable person, when they're doing this kind of ranking, they should not have ranked the event of A and B higher, okay, than any of the marginal, okay? So remember here, higher meaning that's a smaller number. So apparently some of us, okay, are thinking that, well, it's more likely for Linda to be a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement compared to Linda is active and in the feminist movement. Okay, so this again is a bias that many people committed to. And I just wanted to show you all that now we know, especially we're putting things in the probability statements about different events and then the joint probability compared to the marginal. We know that these biases should try to be eliminated. But again, in daily life, people make this kind of mistakes all the time, okay? Lastly, I also looked at the percentage of people ranking this joint event higher than event B, okay, is about 62%. Okay, so it's 13 out of 21 responses. So again, we asked you to do that before the course, before this chapter in particular. So I think it's totally fine. But again, like I said, it's very easy to make this kind of mistakes. So I'm hoping that by learning about probability, we all become a little bit more conscious about marginal probability and joint probability. And then of course, the joint probability should not be greater than any of the marginal based on what we understand about the rules of probability, okay? And I should mention that this Linda problem was first proposed by two back then psychologists, okay, in 1983, okay? So it's the same ranking that they did. And I will just share with you that their results are pretty remarkable back then as well, that a lot of people are making the mistakes, okay? So we're looking at this one should not be smaller than any of this, but clearly many people think that event A is more likely than event A and B, okay? And when we're looking at that percentage, well, it's as high as 90%. And in fact, those were even among those who had several advanced courses in probability and statistics. So don't feel bad. Like I said, historical results also were showing that people are so easy to make this kind of biases. So it's really important for us to learn this lesson, I think, and then apply all of those knowledge that we have learned in this course and in this chapter in particular into daily life. Okay. Lastly, I just want to say, like, actually after people, those two psychologists proposed and then did this experiment and then proposed these ideas, representativeness and conjunction bias, this new terminologies become really popular later in a lot of disciplines, actually in particular in economics later. And I know there are many econ major in our probability course. So I would like to mention this to you that those definitions go this way. Like say, representative and heuristic is people actually determine the probability of an event by the degree to which the event is similar to essential characteristics to its parent population. Okay, just like what we're thinking about the Linda problem. Like we have read about that paragraph about Linda's background. So it's very easy to think that, well, Linda is bank teller, but at the same time, she's also in the family movement, is very active and in the feminist movement. And we're actually going to think that, well, it probably will be even more likely to have her to be in both groups compared to be one of the groups. Okay, so that's representative heuristic, and it's easy mistake people like to make. Okay, the other one is conjunction bias. Okay, that's exactly what we are seeing, intersecting relatively unrepresentative events, like bank teller with a very representative event, like feminist, when we're reading that paragraph about Linda. Okay, so this will actually lead to the fact that people will rank the joint probability to be higher than any of the marginal. And that is why we call this conjunction bias, because when you're combining the two, you would think that the conjunction is more probable than any of the events, and then any of the marginal events. In particular, people will start to think that, well, it's actually more probable than the unrepresented event. Okay, especially here, we're talking about an active female. And I would just also mention that if you're really interested in this type of topic, Econ 333, Behavioral Economics, might be the next course that you really want to take. And then that will help you get into more of the knowledge as well as the theory behind, and then how this kind of understanding and then approaches to problems happen in behavioral economics topics. Okay, so I think after taking probability here, you're you have finished the prereq for that Econ 333. So definitely check it out if this kind of problems are really interesting to you.